Hello, welcome to our module 5, manual handling and display screen equipment. In this module, we're going to be sharing manual handling regulations, further requirement for lifting equipment, reducing manual handling risks, good manual handling techniques, display screen equipment, and workstations. So at the end of this module, this is our outcome. You'll be able to have a basic understanding on what we're going to cover. Now, what is manual handling? Manual handling means transporting or supporting a load by hand or bodily force. It includes obviously lifting, putting down, pushing, pulling, carrying, or moving load. Now, as an employer, you must protect your workers from the risk of injury from hazardous manual handling in the workplace. Now, the law set out how employers must deal with risks from manual handling, avoid hazardous manual handling so far as reasonably practicable, assess the risk of injury from any hazardous manual handling operations that cannot be avoided. You've got to make sure that you reduce the risk of injury from hazardous manual handling to as low as reasonably practical. Now, the weight of the load is important, though the law does not set specific weight limit. Avoid hazardous manual handling. Eliminate handling the load. Can you eliminate hazardous manual handling by not moving load? For example, by looking at whether the work could be done in a different way. Does the item really need to be moved, or can the activity be done safely where it already is by redesigning the task? Can product or materials be delivered directly to where they will be used? Automation or mechanization. Now, if handling the load cannot be avoided, you've got to make sure you consider whether the operations can be automated or mechanized to eliminate the manual part of the handling. Now, the best time to make decisions about this is when plant or systems of work are being designed. Can you use materials handling equipment or mechanical aid to eliminate or reduce the risk you identify in your risk assessment? Make sure your workers are trained to use any equipment you introduce, such as lift trucks. Can you use robotics technology, for example, in production lines? Now, look at this task. Every time you want to do something or lift up a load, now if the object is heavy, bulky, unwieldy, or difficult to grasp, what do you have to do? Ask for help or use an appropriate lifting aid. You may think that you are too powerful to ask for help, but you've got to think about your health. So whatever you do, if you want to lift up everything, ask for help or use an appropriate lifting aid. You've got to assess the risk where you identify risk from hazardous manual handling in your workplace that cannot be avoided. You must do a manual handling risk assessment to help you decide what you need to do to manage these risks. Consider risk arising from the task, the load, the working environment, individual capacity. Now, any materials, handling equipment, or handling aid used, how you organize, and the locate work. Now, the pace, frequency, and duration of the work. Now, what does the law say? The Management of Health and Safety at Work regulations require you to assess the risk to the health and safety of your workers. Where these identifies as manual handling of load, you should also comply with the manual handling operations regulations. The manual handling regulations set out a clear hierarchy of measures you must follow to prevent and manage the risks from hazardous manual handling. Employees' responsibilities. You've got to follow system of work in place for your health and safety. Make sure you use properly any equipment provided for your health and safety. You must cooperate with your health and safety matters. Inform your employer if things change, or maybe if you identify any hazardous handling activities. Make sure you keep that communication with your employer to make sure that everyone is safe. Take care to make sure that your activities do not put others at risk. Now, how detailed should my risk assessment be? The amount of detail required by your manual handling risk assessment will depend on a number of factors, including the level of risk and complexity of the task being carried out. Using HSEC simple risk filters as a first step can help you to initially identify low and high risk tasks. Now, this will help you decide your priorities for more detailed assessment of your higher risk tasks. Now, lifting operations and lifting equipment regulations 1998. These regulations, often abbreviated to LORER, place duties on people and companies who own, operate, or have control over lifting equipment. Now, all lifting operations involving lifting equipment must be properly planned by a competent person, appropriately supervised, and carried out in a safe manner. Regulations require that all equipment used for lifting is fit for purpose, appropriate for the task, suitably marked. Reducing manual handling risks. Measures to control risk will vary depending on the task. Reduce the risk of injury from hazardous manual handling operations you can't avoid. Where possible, provide mechanical help. For example, a sack trolley or hoist. Where this is not reasonably practicable, explore changes to the task, the load, and the working environment. Now, if manual lifting is the only option when there are things you can do to reduce the risk, including make the load smaller or lighter and easier to grasp, break up large consignment into smaller load. For example, look at this picture on the right side. This young one here trying to lift up that load. Now look at the back there. If that load is so heavy, then that can cause a problem on his back. So you've got to be very careful how you do things, of which we're going to talk about in the next phase. Now, if the load is too heavy, make sure you divide a consignment into smaller load. Okay, modify the workplace to reduce carrying distances, twisting movement, or the need to lift things from floor level or above shoulder height. Change the work routine to avoid excessive work rates and tight deadlines. Improve the environment, more space, better flooring, extra lighting so you'll be able to see, or better flooring so you don't sleep, or changing the air temperature can make manual handling easier and safer. Make sure the person doing the lifting has been trained to lift as safely as possible. Okay, so we are going to check your knowledge. So what we're going to do here, you're going to choose the correct answer. Right, number 1, guidance from the HSE on manual handling operations recommend a certain amount that is safe for a person to lift. Lift only as much as you are comfortable with. That 2 people can lift twice as much as 1. And the maximum weight to be lifted is 25 kilos. Number 2, in making a judgment of the risks from the load, you should consider A, its size and condition, its weight, its center of gravity, all 3 of the above. Number 3, which of the following is not classified as a manual handling activity? Throwing, pushing, carrying, and pulling. So which one of these is not classified as a manual handling activity? Right, number 4, which kind of injury is the most common when manual handling? Broken limbs, sprains, headaches, musculoskeletal disorders. Depending on how you pronounce this word, musculoskeletal disorders. Right, so make sure you choose the correct answer. Okay, well done. Let's continue. Good manual handling techniques. Now, as an employer, you must protect your workers from the risk of manual handling injuries at work. Now, how to handle and lift load. Think before handling lifting. It's always important that you plan the lift handling activity. Where is the load going to be placed? You've got to plan all these things here before you lift up heavy things in your hand. Use suitable handling aids where possible. Will you need help with a load? Make sure you remove obstruction. For long lift, for example, from floor to shoulder height, think about resting the load midway on a table or bench to change grip. Keep the load close to your waist for as long as possible while lifting. Now keep the heavier side of the load next to your body. If you can't get close to the load, try to slide it toward your body before you try to lift it. Adopt a stable position. Now your feet should be apart with one leg in front of the other alongside the load if it is on the ground to increase stability. So you should be prepared to move your feet during the lift to keep a stable posture. Now look at this picture here. So the young man here has to stoop down to make sure he get the proper grip and also protect his back. So that's how you lift heavy load. Now wearing over tight clothing or unsuitable footwear may make this task difficult. Ensure a good hold on the load where possible. Hug the load as close as possible to your body. Now this may be better than gripping it tightly with just your hand. Slight bending of your back, hips and knees at the start of the lift is preferable to either fully flexing your back, stooping as I said before, or fully flexing your hips and knees. Don't flex your back any further while lifting. Now this can happen if your legs begin to straighten before you start to raise the load. Avoid twisting your back or leaning sideways, especially while your back is bent. Keep your shoulders level and facing in the same direction as your hips. Turning by moving your feet is better than twisting and lifting at the same time. Now look at this picture here, the first person here, that's how you, in the middle here, that's how you stoop, lift, and then you're standing up. Now you don't have to bend as in the third person here, or this gentleman here. Now you can't do that. That you can cause an injury to your back. It is not good. Okay. Now keep your head up when handling. Look ahead, not down at the load once it is held securely. Look at this picture. So you have to make sure you keep your head up when you're handling heavy load. Move smoothly. Do not check or snatch the load, as this can make it harder to keep control and can increase the risk of injury. Okay. Don't lift or handle more than you can easily manage. Let me say that again. Don't lift or handle more than you can easily manage. I know you're strong, you can lift up 50 kg, but you've got to make sure about your health and safety. There's a difference between what people are able to lift and what they can safely lift. Now, if in doubt, seek advice or get help. Put down then adjust. If you need to precisely position the load, put it down first, then slide it into the desired position. Now look at this picture here. This is not the way you put a load down. Once more again, you can injure your back here. So you've got to stop down and then you put it down. As an employer, you must protect your workers from the health risk of working with display screen equipment, DEC, such as PCs, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Now, the health and safety regulations apply to workers who use DSC daily for continuous period of an hour or more. Now, how to protect workers' health? In law, employers must do a DSC workstation assessment. Okay, so you must do a display screen equipment workstation assessment. Reduce risks, including making sure workers take break from DSC work or do something different. You got to make sure you provide an eye test if a worker asks for one. Provide training and information for workers. Now look at these pictures here. Look at the posture. This is a bad posture. You can't do that, obviously. You have to look also at the distance between you and your PC. Alright, because bad posture you can cause injury to your back. Incorrect use of DSC or poorly designed workstation or work environment can lead to pain in necks, shoulders, backs, arms, wrists, and hand, as well as fatigue and eye strain. Now the causes may not always be obvious. Now look at this picture here. This gentleman is too close to that screen there, which is not good. Okay, it can cause eye strain. The person here causing the neck is depend also on the posture. Workstations and assessment. Now, if workers use display screen equipment (DSE) daily as part of their normal work continuously for an hour or more, employers must do a workstation assessment. Now, employers should look at the workstation, including equipment, furniture, and work conditions, the job being done, any special requirement of a member of staff, for example, a user with a disability. Employers must also do an assessment when a new workstation is set up, a new user starts work, a change is made to an existing workstation or the way it's used. Users complain of pain or discomfort. Now listen to this. Where there are risks, they should take steps to reduce them. Alright, we have come to the end of module 5. So next, we are going to check your knowledge. So you're going to choose the correct answer. First one, the first consideration when you are about to lift a large load on your own is to ensure you wear a safety helmet. Assess whether it is safe to lift it on your own. Wear gloves to grip it properly. Ensure that you lift it all in one go. Number 2, what do you think is the part of your body most likely to be injured during a manual handling operation? Chest, forearms, knees, or back? Number 3, to ensure maximum stability, how should you position your feet when lifting? A, with your feet apart and flat on the floor. With your feet together, with feet apart and on tiptoes, one in front of the other. Number 4, what is the optimum height for heavy objects that are being moved in and out of storage? A, floor level. Shoulder height, waist height. Which one is the correct answer? Number 5, what is the maximum weight that an individual may lift? A, the weight they can lift comfortably, 25 kg, provided that it is a compact load. Whatever the supervisor says. 35 kilo, provided that it has no sharp edges. Number 6, who is responsible for conducting manual handling risk assessment? the employer, an enforcement officer, the health and safety manager, and or the employee. Okay, so congratulations, we have come to the end of our module 5. So in our next video, we're going to have module 6, and we're going to be talking about hazardous substances and working at height. So well done, and I'll see you in our next video.